Could a love, forged in the ancient, whispering alleys of Granada and illuminated by the golden glow of the Alhambra, truly be extinguished by 50 years of silence, oceans, and unspoken pain? Clara, her fingers tracing the delicate lines of a faded blueprint, often wrestled with this question. The architectural drawing, a relic of a dream, was a bittersweet reminder of the future they once meticulously planned together. Each intricate detail on the paper seemed to echo his name, a phantom whisper from a past she had deliberately, yet unsuccessfully, tried to bury. Her hands, now marked by time and the careful handling of invaluable artifacts, still recalled the confident strength of his touch, a memory as vivid as the bougainvillea that once cascaded over their shared balcony in the Albayacin. 5 decades had elapsed, each year a silent testament to the enduring ache in her soul. As the soft morning light filtered into her New York apartment, catching dust motes dancing in the air, a faint premonition stirred within her. A fragile, almost absurd hope that perhaps, just perhaps, destiny had one final breathtaking twist in store for them. Alejandro, a budding architect from the heart of Andalusia, never anticipated that a simple commission to survey ancient Roman ruins near Granada would lead him to the most exquisite discovery of his life. He first saw Clara, an American art history student, sketching the intricate mosaic floors, her concentration absolute, her spirit radiating an intellectual fire that instantly captivated him. Their initial conversations, steeped in the shared language of art, history, and the timeless beauty of the region, quickly blossomed into something far deeper. They explored hidden courtyards, shared tapas in lively plazas, and watched the sunsets paint the Sierra Nevada in hues of fiery orange and soft violet, their laughter echoing through the narrow streets. He swore that one day he would build her a house as beautiful and enduring as the ancient structures she adored, a testament to a love that felt as timeless as the city itself. In his journal, he began to sketch designs, each line imbued with the hope of a future shared with Clara, a future that promised to be as rich and detailed as the Moorish patterns they so admired. Their romance was swift and incandescent, fueled by shared passions and the intoxicating magic of Granada. Clara, usually reserved, found herself completely swept away by Alejandro's intensity, his profound understanding of history, and the way his eyes lit up when he spoke of his architectural dreams. They exchanged small tokens, a vintage silver ring for her, a compass for him, symbols of their unwavering commitment. Under the luminous full moon, overlooking the illuminated Alhambra, they made their solemn vows. "I'll wait for you, no matter what," Clara had whispered, her voice trembling with emotion as she prepared to return to the U.S. for her final academic year. Alejandro had reciprocated with equal fervor, his hand clutching hers tightly, a silent promise echoing between them. The separation was meant to be temporary, a brief pause before their lifelong journey began. They envisioned a future filled with collaborative projects, perhaps even a shared studio, where her historical insight would merge seamlessly with his architectural genius. The pain of parting was softened by the certainty of their eventual reunion, a certainty that, unbeknownst to them, was already hanging by the slenderest of threads. Clara returned to the U.S., her heart a bittersweet mix of longing and hopeful expectation. Letters from Alejandro were her lifeline, filled with his projects and unwavering affection. But then, a chilling article appeared in a prominent Spanish art magazine, sent anonymously to her by a concerned well-wisher. It featured Alejandro, arm in arm with a powerful, much older woman, the renowned art patron, Doña Isabel, announcing their engagement. The accompanying photograph, seemingly intimate, showed Doña Isabel gazing adoringly at Alejandro, who, though not overtly affectionate, appeared complicit in the announcement. Clara's world shattered. The man she loved, the man who had promised her everything, seemed to have betrayed her for wealth and influence. The compass he had given her felt suddenly heavy, a cruel joke. She tried to reach him, her calls unanswered, her desperate letters returned unopened. Each failed attempt solidified the painful narrative in her mind. Alejandro had chosen ambition over their love. Heartbroken and humiliated, Clara severed all ties, believing the evidence irrefutable, his silence a confirmation of her deepest fears. Alejandro, oblivious to the article and Clara's growing despair, was in turmoil. Doña Isabel, a powerful figure who had funded his entire architectural education and was now bankrolling his first major project, the restoration of an ancient Roman villa, had suddenly and without warning declared their engagement to the press. It was an elaborate, calculated move to solidify her control over his career and, by extension, his life. He was trapped. Refusing Doña Isabel would mean financial ruin, the cancellation of his dream project, and potentially a blacklist in the influential art and architecture circles she commanded. More devastatingly, it would dishonor his family, who were deeply indebted to Doña Isabel for her long-standing patronage. He tried to contact Clara, frantically writing letters, but his access to communication was suddenly and subtly controlled. His calls to her, his desperate attempts to explain, were intercepted, his letters diverted. Doña Isabel had a network of influence. Alejandro was a prisoner of circumstance, forced to play a role he despised, knowing that every public appearance, every photograph, was a lie. His heart ached with a pain deeper than any physical wound, believing Clara would never understand, believing she would despise him. Clara, nursing a profound wound, immersed herself in her studies, channeling her pain into a relentless pursuit of academic excellence. She focused on Mesoamerican art, finding solace in the intricate patterns of ancient cultures, a world away from the perceived betrayal in Spain. Her intellectual achievements became her shield, her emotional armor. Alejandro, trapped in a gilded cage, poured his anguish into his work. His architectural designs became renowned for their emotional depth and subtle melancholic beauty, earning him accolades across Europe. But behind the public facade of a successful architect and the dutiful fiancé of a powerful patron, he was a man living a lie, haunted by the ghost of a love he believed he had lost forever. 50 years unfolded, each marked by professional triumphs but personal emptiness. Clara became a respected curator, her name synonymous with groundbreaking exhibitions. Alejandro became a celebrated master of modern design rooted in ancient forms. Yet, in the quiet solitude of their lives, both carried a silent, unhealed scar, a testament to a love that had been tragically severed. Clara's career blossomed, leading her to specialize in the fascinating intersections of Old and New World art, particularly the artistic echoes between ancient Mediterranean cultures and vibrant Mesoamerican traditions. She lectured globally, her insights celebrated. Yet, in the quiet of her private studies, she often found herself drawn to the symbolic motifs of resilience and rebirth, motifs that resonated deeply with her own untold story. She spent years curating groundbreaking exhibitions that brought to light the sophisticated artistry of pre-Columbian Mexico, working closely with artifacts like vibrant Talavera pottery and intricately carved obsidian. These pieces, with their powerful narratives, often reminded her of the raw emotion she had once felt, a stark contrast to the academic detachment she usually maintained. Despite her success, a quiet melancholy persisted. The bustling energy of New York and the rich history of the artifacts she handled couldn't fully fill the void left by a love lost in Granada. The vibrant colors of Mexican art were a beautiful distraction, but the shadows of the Alhambra still lingered in the deepest corners of her memory. Alejandro, now a celebrated architect known for seamlessly blending modern aesthetics with historical reverence, continued to live in Granada. His projects, often involving the restoration of ancient sites or the creation of new structures inspired by Moorish design, earned him international recognition. His marriage to Doña Isabel, though a public spectacle, was a private formality, a cold arrangement of mutual benefit. He had built a spectacular career, his name etched into the very stones of Spain, but his heart remained an unbuilt edifice, longing for the warmth and vitality that Clara had brought into his life. He often walked the familiar paths of the Albaycin, lingering at overlooks where they had once watched the sunset, the echoes of her laughter carried on the wind. The silver ring he had once given her, he still kept, hidden away. It was a tangible link to a love he believed had been consumed by the fire of his forced engagement. Each new architectural line he drew, each historical detail he preserved, was a silent elegy to a future he could not have, a profound longing etched into the very fabric of his being. In a small, unassuming antique shop in Oaxaca, during one of her research trips, Clara stumbled upon a beautifully crafted, slightly tarnished brass compass. It was identical to the one she had given Alejandro all those years ago. A wave of intense nostalgia washed over her, a sudden, sharp ache in her chest. She bought it, not knowing why, but feeling an undeniable pull, as if it held a fragment of her lost past. Back in her study, she placed it on her desk next to the Frida Kahlo print, a silent, powerful reminder of the man she had loved and the mystery surrounding their painful separation. The compass, designed to point true north, ironically felt like a beacon to a lost direction in her own life. It whispered of paths not taken, of destinies unfulfilled, igniting a tiny, dangerous flicker of what if that she had spent decades trying to suppress. Clara, now a highly respected senior curator, received an unexpected and prestigious invitation to co-curate a groundbreaking international exhibition in Granada, Spain. The theme was Convergences, Moorish Influence, and Mesoamerican Art, a perfect fusion of her expertise and her personal history. Her first reaction was a jolt of fear, followed by a rush of exhilaration. Granada, the city that held both her deepest joy and her most profound heartbreak. It felt like destiny, a challenge she couldn't refuse, a chance to face the ghosts of her past on her own terms. The exhibition proposed a revolutionary concept, exploring the surprising stylistic and thematic parallels between ancient Islamic art and pre-Columbian motifs. A bridge between cultures, much like the one she had hoped to build with Alejandro. The irony was not lost on her. She was returning to the city of her heartbreak to build a new bridge. Meanwhile, Alejandro's architectural firm, Estudio Albaycin, was approached with a prestigious project to design a new, state-of-the-art wing for the historic Museum of Fine Arts in Granada. This wing would specifically house an upcoming international exhibition focused on convergences. It was a commission of a lifetime, a chance to leave an indelible mark on his beloved city. He immersed himself in the designs, incorporating elements of both Moorish geometry and subtle organic forms, striving to create a space that honored the past while embracing the future. He knew little about the specific curator, only that she was an American of formidable reputation. His focus was entirely on the architecture, a demanding project that consumed his waking hours, unaware that the curator overseeing this very exhibition was the woman who had once owned his heart. Clara arrived in Granada, the city's familiar scent of jasmine and orange blossoms stirring a potent mix of nostalgia and apprehension. The narrow, winding streets of the Albaycin, the majestic silhouette of the Alhambra against the sky, every detail was a vivid flashback to a life she had believed was lost. She walked through the city, feeling like a ghost in her own past, a different woman returning to a landscape steeped in youthful dreams. The vibrant flamenco music from open taverns, the murmur of Spanish conversations felt both comforting and profoundly alien. Her work for the exhibition provided a much-needed distraction, a professional focus to anchor her emotions. She spent her days reviewing blueprints for the new museum wing, admiring the sophisticated design, completely unaware that the architect behind the elegant lines was the man who had shaped the very contours of her heart. During a large, formal briefing for the upcoming exhibition, held in the grand hall of the museum, Clara stood among a throng of dignitaries and art professionals. As the principal architect was introduced, her gaze drifted towards the stage. Her heart seized in her chest, a sudden, painful lurch. Standing beside the museum director, his silver hair contrasting with the elegant dark suit, was a man whose profile was etched into her very soul. Older, yes, profoundly changed by time, but unmistakably Alejandro. He was speaking, his voice resonating with authority, but Clara heard nothing. The room spun around her, the vibrant colors of the artworks blurring into a chaotic mess. 50 years evaporated in an instant, replaced by the raw, visceral shock of his presence. Alejandro, concluding his presentation, scanned the room, a professional gesture of acknowledgement. His eyes, practiced at discerning aesthetic details, casually swept over the faces in the audience. And then they stopped. A woman, elegantly poised, her gaze fixed on him with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. Her hair, now streaked with silver, framed a face etched with the wisdom of years. Yet her eyes, those same expressive, unforgettable eyes, were unmistakably Clara's. His world, which had continued its steady rotation for half a century, suddenly screeched to a halt. He faltered, a word catching in his throat but quickly recovered, forcing a professional smile. Inside, a tumultuous storm raged. It couldn't be. Not after all this time, not here, not now. But the undeniable truth of her presence resonated through every fiber of his being, a resurrection of a love he thought long dead. After the meeting, the room gradually emptied. Clara lingered, her legs feeling like lead, her heart pounding a furious rhythm against her ribs. She watched Alejandro, surrounded by admirers, his practiced smile never quite reaching his eyes. Their gazes finally met across the receding crowd, a silent, potent clash of past and present. There were no words, only a profound recognition, a shared history suspended between them. Clara felt a surge of old pain, the sting of betrayal still sharp despite the years. Alejandro, excusing himself abruptly from his conversation, began to walk towards her, a mixture of trepidation and fierce determination in his stride. The space between them, once filled with whispered promises, now felt charged with the weight of 50 years of unspoken questions and unhealed wounds. Their first words were strained, formal, a thin veneer over a volcano of emotion. Clara, still deeply hurt by the perceived betrayal, maintained a professional distance, her tone cool, almost dismissive. The image of the magazine article flashed in her mind, reinforcing her protective wall. Alejandro, desperate to explain, found himself struggling for the right words, for the chance to unravel decades of misunderstanding. But her coldness, the undeniable pain in her eyes made him hesitant, fearing he would only inflict more hurt. He could see the wall she had built around her heart. The initial encounter ended awkwardly, unresolved, leaving both with a renewed sense of agony. Clara was convinced his silence was a continuation of his deceit, while Alejandro believed her continued coldness meant there was no hope for explanation or forgiveness. Determined not to lose her again, Alejandro persisted. He sought her out at the museum, then at her hotel, until Clara reluctantly agreed to meet in a quiet cafe in the Albaicin, a place they had once frequented. Here, amidst the familiar scents of coffee and old stone, he finally unraveled the truth. He recounted Doña Isabel's calculated manipulation, the anonymous article designed to sever their ties, the intercepted letters and calls, and the agonizing choice he was forced to make: dishonor his family and ruin his career, or publicly accept a false engagement to protect them. He revealed the depth of his despair, his daily torment, and the silent vow he made to never truly marry. Clara listened, her initial anger slowly giving way to a sickening realization. The betrayal she had harbored for 50 years wasn't his. It was the cruel deception orchestrated by a jealous, powerful woman. The weight of his sacrifice, the immense pain he had endured, crashed down on her, eclipsing her own sorrow with a profound, shared anguish. The truth, raw and devastating, ripped open old wounds but also brought an unexpected balm. Clara, seeing the depth of Alejandro's suffering, the profound sacrifice he had made, felt her anger transform into a heart-wrenching empathy. Her own pain, though immense, now felt intertwined with his, a shared burden of lost time. "Alejandro," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, I never knew." His hands, now frail but still strong, reached for hers, clasping them tightly. In that moment, under the soft shadows cast by the albayacine walls, their long-held pain began its slow, arduous process of healing. They spent hours talking, pouring out 50 years of unspoken words, of separate lives, lived with a phantom limb of longing. The Alhambra, visible from their cafe window, no longer seemed a symbol of their separation, but a silent witness to a love that had defied even the most insidious of deceptions. With the truth laid bare and forgiveness embraced, Alejandro and Clara began to reclaim the lost chapters of their lives. They revisited their old haunts in Granada, the Generalife Gardens, the quiet corners of the Alhambra, the vibrant street art in the Realejo district. Each step was a bittersweet rediscovery, a blending of old memories with new, deeper understandings. They shared stories of their separate careers, her successes in unearthing ancient cultures, his triumphs in giving new life to historical spaces. They found an unexpected joy in discussing their shared passion for art and history, their minds still as sharp and engaged as they had been 5 decades ago. Their connection, once severed by deceit, now re-emerged, stronger and more profound, tempered by the fire of shared suffering and the miracle of a second chance. The future, once a desolate landscape, suddenly stretched before them, brimming with the possibility of shared sunsets and whispered conversations. The international exhibition Convergences opened to critical acclaim in Granada. Clara, as lead curator, and Alejandro, as the architect of its stunning new wing, stood side by side, their collaboration a silent testament to a love that had transcended time and manipulation. The exhibition, a bridge between ancient cultures, mirrored the bridge they had finally built between their own hearts. In the final gallery, dedicated to resilience, Clara placed the 2 identical wooden compasses side by side, a subtle, personal touch that only they understood. It was a quiet symbol of paths lost and found, of true north eventually rediscovered. Under the soft evening light of the Alhambra, they walked hand in hand, no longer burdened by the past. Their love, like the enduring beauty of Granada itself, had been tested, broken, and ultimately reborn, a vibrant tapestry woven from threads of history, hope, and an unbreakable bond.